Sauce is what makes it.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's almost 10 o'clock. Everybody looking forward to this? We've been hyping this up for a while now that we were going to get back into Revelation. We started it before the pandemic and had to put it on pause. You know, we didn't totally cancel it, but we put it on pause. So
John's busy. I tried. He's not willing to come, but he's still around. Yeah, one day.
You talking about the top?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Yes, John. Some people in this room. Some people in this room think that because Jesus looked at Peter and said, "If I don't want John to die, what business is it of you?" You know.
If I let him live forever.
Okay, right. They feel that means that John is still alive somewhere on the earth.
Oh, okay.
You know, but Jesus is a very compassionate person. He would have taken the beloved disciple to heaven a long time ago instead of leaving him here on this earth to suffer. So I don't buy into that at all, but some people in this room do. But in 2 years, they haven't been able to produce him to come and teach his own book. So
if you get it wrong, he's gonna show up.
Oh, well then I'm gonna get it wrong first sentence, okay? So
You're gonna bring Elvis with him to sing too?
yeah. So, Sasquatch too, you know? Yeah. They must all be hanging out in the same place. So.
He's a good hider.
Yeah, he's a good hider. Okay, all right. Well, you keep looking because it's gonna take a while to get through this, okay? But anyway, we're gonna start out today. We're gonna do the introduction, and we're gonna get through a couple of verses today. We'd already gone through this part, but because that was 2 years ago, we're just gonna go ahead and start fresh, and go from there. Very, grateful. My morning has been kind of crazy by my own doing. So, because I'm teaching Sunday school today, I'm preaching this morning, I'm preaching tonight. I'm going to be talking a lot today.
You're just doing everything.
I don't want to, but yes.
You'll give you a star.
Oh.
He's taking one of my spots. I don't know what you need to take on yours. I had to go back into the house for something today and realized when I went back into the house that I left my notes for Sunday school and the morning sermon on the counter. So I was very grateful that I had to go back inside and get that, or Nicole would be on her way back to the house right now to get the sermon.
God's little blessings on your life.
That's right. See? Yeah. So but anyway, so we're gonna start out here. Let's go ahead and open up in prayer, and then we'll jump right into it. So, Father God, we thank you and praise you that we can come and gather in your house today and to study this book and to, Lord, I just pray that you would give us understanding of this book. It's one of probably the toughest book of the whole Bible to understand, and Lord, we just ask for divine wisdom and that things would be clear and would make sense to us, Lord. Father, I pray that as we go through this time each and every week, that you would just bless us and continue to help us to understand and to draw closer to you better. And we thank you for that. We ask this now in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so introduction to Revelation. There you go. Start at chapter 1. All right. So we've already talked about that this book was written by John, the Apostle John. And he was, let's see how much resistance I get on this statement. He was the last of the apostles to die. Okay, good.
There's no record of it.
So, it's because he was the last one. He couldn't write down his own death, okay? So, that's why there's no record of it. So, but
anyways, so yes, but it is. There's a lot of unsubstantiated claims that they tried to kill him. Maybe it's part of church history, I guess, in some respects. Maybe it's, maybe there is some truth to it or whatever. But it's supposedly it's part of church history that they tried to put him into boiling oil, big cauldron of boiling oil, and kill him that way as they did some other people, and he didn't die. He, like the Hebrew children in the fire didn't die at that point. But it doesn't mean he's still alive 2,000 years later. So, anyways, this is the 5th book of the New Testament that he wrote. Anybody know what the other ones are?
Gospel of John.
That's right.
1st, 2nd, and 3rd John.
That's right. Very good, Hank. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's good.
I'm an exceptionally bright fellow, Bruce, because even when I was a little tiny guy at home, my mama used to call me Sonny because I was so bright.
There you go. That's good. That's a good reputation to have right there. So, but maybe that's what we should start calling Robbie. So, all right. So this would be the last of the 5 that he wrote. The date that he wrote this is mainly accepted as being around 95 AD, when he was banished to the prison colony of Patmos. This was not like a tropical island that he was sent to. This was a mining colony that they sent prisoners. It was a prison colony. They had people there. They were forced to do manual labor and stuff like that, and because but he was sent there by Emperor Titus Dominion, I guess. He was
just to be clear, so he's over 100 years old doing manual labor.
He's not over 100 years old.
If that was in 95, after Christ's death, he would have been what?
Yeah, but Christ died in 33.
Okay. So he's 90s, 80s.
Maybe. We don't know. He was one of the youngest disciples too, when Jesus was walking the earth. So he might have been just a little more than a teenager when he was with Christ. So, but yeah, he was in his 70s, 80s. So yes, but they had him doing some manual labor. Basically, they just had him on I don't know how much of manual labor he was doing, but they had him on the island to get him away from everybody else because they didn't like what he was doing. So, but they sent people there to do manual labor, to do the mining and the other stuff. So, but Dominion was persecuting the church because he wanted to be worshipped. The emperor felt that he was God. In fact, he put a statue or an image of him in every temple in the Roman Empire and wanted everybody to bow down to it. And of course, John was not doing that. And John was talking about who really was God. And so they, and again, that's where the story of them trying to kill him in the oil happened, but it didn't work. So then after that, they made him go to the island because they couldn't figure out how to get rid of him otherwise. So some people do date it around 65 AD when Nero was in charge of persecuting the church. Nero is famous for starting a fire in Rome and blaming it on the Christians so that he could, but he started the fire himself and burned Rome down. But he wanted to blame it on the Christians, and so. But this is not widely popular because there is some things talked about in the book that didn't happen until 70 AD. It talks about the temple being destroyed, and the temple wasn't destroyed in 65 AD when they think this was written. So there's some, and it talks about the temple having already been destroyed, not gonna be. So that's one instance. So 65 AD, some people do hold to that, but it's not very popular, not very common. Most scholars believe that it's around 95 AD. So the name Revelation means unveiling or disclosure. Basically, make known, to reveal something. And this is what the book does. It makes things known. Okay, so that's what it's. There's gonna be something revealed in this to us. Gonna be a lot of things revealed to us. But okay. So before we go too far, though, a few things we need to remember about this, and we need to understand. And I know I got a lot of points on here, and I shouldn't have done it like that. I'm sorry if it's hard to see them all. But everybody can move a little closer. I do shower daily. I mean, okay. So, but anyways.
We're Southern Baptists.
Okay, I got you. So, but many people have studied this book and disagree like a lot on what's being said in the book. The things in this book are hard to understand, and many scholars have had a hard time with the meanings. Some people have actually left the ministry after studying the book of Revelation because it is so hard to understand. Okay, so I encourage you to seek God about it, pray about this, study, look at the scriptures on your own, read in between classes and stuff, and where we're at in the book at that time, and be in prayer and get your own understanding about it. And please don't take everything I say as being totally right, because I'm not a biblical scholar that's been doing this for all my life. I'm just some guy that's trying to make some sort of sense out of this. And I do a lot of study, I do a lot of research, and I really pray about this. But I also bring out, like with the dates, and I've kind of always tried to teach this way, is I try to bring out both sides. And this is what's commonly believed, this is what's not commonly believed, and some people say this, but this is just way out here in left field. Okay, I try to give all that to you. So, but, and I really seek God about, getting understanding before I stand up here. So, but please don't take everything I say to be totally correct, because I might not be. Okay, and so, that comes with this book. And so, we're going to try to be as good to, hopefully God will reveal to us everything we need. So we'll also at some point be looking at the book of Daniel, because Daniel had some visions about this time period. And so we'll talk about him as well, and look at some of the stuff that he's going to be talking about. So, yeah, I think that about covers everything on there. So. Why is my mouse up there but not down here? Okay. The letter is meant to be encouraging. Church is suffering persecution, no matter if it is 65 or if it is 95, they're suffering persecution. Okay, we just finished 1 Peter, where the church was suffering persecution. Okay, so, but this is meant to kind of be encouraging. This is, to show people that in the end Christ wins. And because we know he wins, we can take great comfort in knowing that he will win, and that everything's going to be all right in the end, even though it may be a rough ride between them. So, but one thing to remember about this is we're not sure when it's going to happen. And so we need to be ready. We don't know. And as we get into the judgments and the different things that happen, I'm going to be prepared to talk about if COVID is part of the final 7 years. Because a lot of people are saying it is. So, but, and like I said, when we get there, we'll talk about it more, but there's also been these kind of things throughout history. Bubonic plague,
bunch of other ones. And so, is this just another one, or are we in the final days? So, so we'll talk about that when we get into it. Okay. Some people study this book so much that they get consumed by it. Okay. And then there are other people that don't study it at all because they feel it's so confusing and not beneficial that they don't want anything to do with it. There was one famous individual that felt that way. Martin Luther, the father of the Reformation, posted the things on the door of the Catholic Church and started the Reformation and everything. He felt that Revelation was too hard for people to understand and that shouldn't be taught, shouldn't be, okay, but obviously I don't feel that way. I like a challenge, so we're going to go forward. But again, the thing about it is that you don't want one end or the other. You want the middle. You don't want to be so consumed by everything that you read here that it just takes up your whole life. And there are people that are like that. And then you don't want to be so dead set against reading it that you don't gain any usefulness out of it. Okay? We will see here in the first few verses that we'll cover today that there's a blessing that is promised to those who read it, learn it, and apply it to their lives. So there is a blessing with that. And so, but yeah, so we got, some people don't study it, other people spend so much time, But again, I somewhere in the middle is where we need to be, where we study it and learn it and apply it to our lives, but we don't let it totally take us over. So, and that's with anything, moderation. So, but any questions so far about what we've talked about? Any questions, comments, thoughts? Everybody excited about this? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there's 4 main viewpoints of this. Okay, there was there we go. 4 main viewpoints. First one, pure fiction. Some people say that this is just a total creation of John's imagination. What did he do, honey?
What?
What is it you say he always did?
John?
Yeah, that he had, what did he eat down there that caused him to have this vision? Oh, you don't remember, okay. She's always...
Oh, the trippy mushroom.
There you go, the trippy mushrooms, right. Yeah, he had bad mushrooms. See, you get people like that say that he ate some bad mushrooms and this was all... He had a trip, right? Okay, so you have that camp, but she doesn't believe that this is pure fiction, but she so.
She gave us the reason to believe it.
There you go, right? Exactly. So, but yeah, possibly some people think that this was all out of his mind, and that this is an effect of the exile, being exiled. That when you're exiled and that kind of thing, and it does things to your mind. So.
Mushrooms.
Well, yeah, right. Okay. Historical view. Now, this historical view has 2 parts to it. One, that this is all past history. That he's giving an account of stuff that has happened in the 1st century before he wrote this. That everything that happened had already happened in the 1st century. So some people feel that everything that we're going to talk about has already happened because it happened in the 1st century. Okay. I see. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Okay, I don't buy into that myself. So the second one is that this is continuous history. That all events happen throughout all of church history. That could be if we bought into that. Willmington, in his guide to the Bible, says that this view sees in symbols the rise of the Pope and corruption in the church and various wars in church history as events described in Revelation. So, there is a lot of places where we can look and see different things that happened, and in the history of the church over the centuries, some of these things look like they could be the same thing. They look like they could happen. But when he was writing this was a prophetic vision. This stuff hadn't happened yet, but that now at this point in time it probably has, and that we're just waiting to get to the end of all this stuff for the end to actually happen.
In our family, we were brought up that everything in the Bible was true, and I still hold that today.
Well, yeah.
If it's in the Bible, it's the truth.
Right, and that's the way we should be. So that's why the pure fiction thing is like, ow, But but we should hold it at view. So, but we also know that most of the Old Testament is a lot of history too, and so that's why some people think that this is nothing but history as well.
I feel that if you're in doubt of anything in the Bible, you speak to God about it, and He will lay it on your heart. He will send you a sign.
Yeah.
If it's wrong.
Right. And
that's what my uncle was a preacher, and that's what he said.
Well, yeah, and the other thing about it is that when you read stuff in the Bible, you can read it 4 or 5 times, and then go back in a day or two and read it a 6th time and get a totally different meaning out of it. Last night when I was finishing up the sermon I'm going to preach tonight, I got a totally different point than what I was originally looking at. So I had to, go back and rework some stuff. So that's, really, and I know Justin had spoken quite a bit, and Hank, I know has spoken a few times, but I know Justin feels me on this. It takes a long time to get these ready, and I'm doing 3 today. So I really got a new respect for Tommy, and the fact that there was a period of time when he was teaching his class regularly, he was doing 3 every week, plus Wednesday night. So he was actually doing 4. So, you can have it. So, but anyway, so, and then the other two ones is prophetical. First one here is the third one that we're going to look at of the 4 is prophetical. See the events from chapter 4 and after is yet to be fulfilled. That's how a lot of people view this. Okay, is that from through chapter 3 we're going to be talking of the letters to the churches, the 7 churches, and then we start getting into the events that happen, the judgments, the bowls, the trumpet judgments, the wrath of God poured out. Where it gets so bad at one point that the people are begging for the mountains to fall down on them and stuff and things like that, but yet they can't find any relief. So that's prophetical. So from chapter 4 on is yet to be fulfilled, and so that's mainly the most popular belief of these. And then the last one is an allegorical, which takes no part of the book is being literal, but the whole book is a symbolic account of the struggle between good and evil over the centuries, the continuing, ongoing battle. And so that this is, that it's a symbolic account, basically like Star Wars. A symbolic account of a battle between good and evil. So that one's, take it as you will. But prophetical, the prophetical account is where I side on this. That it's these events haven't yet happened. And some of it might be close to church history, but these events haven't happened. Okay. Any questions? Comments, thoughts? Did I explain that good? Okay. All right. There's a large amount of symbolism in this book. Okay.
There's reasons why people feel that John used symbolism. First of all, first big one would be spiritual code. This would be something that the Christians would understand, but that if the Roman authorities got a hold of these letters, and the account of what was to happen, that they wouldn't be able to make any sense out of it. And so some people feel that that's one reason why he did it. Also, symbolism is not weakened by time. It's something that all people can understand throughout the ages. Jesus spoke in parables. And while some of the parables are harder for us to understand now, 2,000 years later, we do understand them to a certain extent. It's a little harder for us to understand because we're not experiencing those same things that they were when he first started talking about them. But when Jesus was speaking these parables, he knew that the Jews would understand what he was talking about. And that even though our times are different, the principle remains the same. And so that's another reason why he would have used symbols here. Symbols provide info and values, but also will stir up emotions for the reader. We said the book is meant to be encouraging for people that read it, heard the letter. Even when there will be times of trouble, we know that Jesus is going to have the victory. And we're on the right side of that if we're a believer. Should give us great strength for the battle for our lives. Okay? So any questions about that? Good, I'm right on time where I want to be. Questions, comments, thoughts? All right. Okay. So now, let's get into it. We're going to look at the first 3 verses today. And then we'll start next week with the greetings to the 7 churches. And we'll start digging into the 7 churches. Okay? Alright, so Revelation 1, verses 1 through 3. This is a revelation from Jesus Christ, whom God gave to show his servants the events that must soon take place. He sent an angel to present his revelation to his servant John, who faithfully reported everything he saw. This is the report of the word of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ. God blesses the one who reads the words of this prophecy to the church, and he blesses all who listen to its messages and obey what it says, for the time is near. Again, I'm working on a New Living.
I guess that's where they get the theory that it's already happened in the first century. Because he says shortly, and then later on he says that about the people that pierced Christ will witness that, like they're still living. So
yes, that's where, and some people, some people take everything in here as very literally too. So I didn't really touch on that one too much, but some people take everything in here as being completely literal. So when he says a short time, people think that it was going to happen right then. But the disciples also thought that Christ was going to return right after he left. So they didn't know all this stuff was going to happen.
30 or so days and they were in a panic.
What now?
30 or so days and they were in a panic.
Exactly. So, right, So you're right, exactly. But we also know that the time to God is not the way we view time. So 2,000 years to God is basically could be a day. So basically it's a short period of time. If it were to happen, Christ were to return like today, then it would soon happen according to God's timeline. So right, but you're absolutely right. Some people take this very literally and see that and say, okay, that's why it's history now because it happened. And so, but yeah. Most people think, again, we've kind of talked about this, most people think that this is John's vision for the future, but that's not correct. It's not correct at all. It says right out from the beginning here that this is the revelation from Jesus Christ, which God gave to show what would happen. It didn't originate from John. He's only the messenger that brings it to us. And this comes from God and is given to Jesus from the Father and then passed to an angel who brings the message to John, who's told to write down and deliver it to all believers. So, we see most of the book where there's an angel telling John about this information. But we're going to see here shortly that Jesus himself is going to be speaking to John in one of the vision, in the vision that he has. And it's a different look in Jesus than John's ever seen before. So, okay. And as I said, verse 3 here promises a blessing. Those who hear the words and follow them, follow the instruction that's received. And notice that it requires action. Faith in God and in Jesus requires action. We see that in many places in the Bible. Paul tells us that. The writer of Hebrews tells us that. The apostles tell us that. James and John speak of that. Okay? Now, we're not trusting in our works, but we are required to put our faith in action. And that's what this blessing is saying, is that the ones who read this, study this, understand it, and apply it to their lives will be blessed for doing so. Okay. And so that's where a lot of people sometimes get off track, is that they think that, yeah, I have faith in God, and it may be very well that they have that faith in God and whatever. It's not for me to judge, but we're also called to have action and live it out. Okay? So there's 7 Beatitudes, basically. This being the first one, this blessing being the first one. But there's 7 Beatitudes in the book of Revelation. And so we're going to, when they come up, we'll spend a little time talking about each one. But, and so, this is something to look forward to. This is, 7 Beatitudes like there was on the, in Matthew on the Sermon on the Mount. He talked about blessed are those who do this, and blessed are the peacemakers, and blessed are is that. So, while we're going through this, we'll see the blessings that God has for the people. Okay. So this wraps up the introduction and a couple of verses today. We really made Robbie happy. I found a Formula One car picture, pit stop. We're done. We're in the pit right now. We're getting ready to fly out onto the track of Revelation. Okay, so it's gonna be a ride. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great.
Tell Robbie we all NASCAR. That ain't gonna get it.
So, he's NASCAR too. He anything racing. So, but it's it's gonna be good. And I encourage you, if you miss a week, I'll have the notes up in the vestibule up there. If you do look at YouTube, please find the church YouTube page. You can, or if you're on Facebook, you can. There's a Journey Class Facebook page that I post. That's why I'm recording. I post these videos on here, and I know that Denise. We saw Denise yesterday in Walmart, and she's pointing on. I told her about it because I had heard that she was asking if we had started Revelation again, and she wanted to watch them. So that's good. But they are there. So if you miss a week, you can get the notes and also look at the video, and so you can kind of keep up. If you don't have the YouTube, again, the notes will be up there. More than welcome to take them. And then, if you have any questions, please feel free to bring them up. If I don't know the answer, which I probably won't at the time, I will look it up and we'll talk about it the next week. I will try to answer any questions because I want to keep everybody as informed as possible on these things and know that we're doing, we're drawing closer to God and doing His work and learning more about this. So, but I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. Praying that nothing like COVID shuts us down again, like it did last time. Times I honestly think that this whole COVID thing is my fault because I started Revelation and the enemy just really didn't want us going there. So, but we're gonna try again. So we're gonna show that he ain't stopping us. So, anybody got anything? Any comments, thoughts, questions?